Hi and welcome to The Nation. I'm RATNAM. In the next half an hour, we'll give you a roundup of business updates from around the world this week, which includes key business developments right here in Malaysia. We begin with this. According to Deputy Prime Minister Fadillah Yusof, Malaysia recorded broad-based economic growth in the third quarter of 2025, with GDP expanding 5.2%, up from 4.4% in the previous quarter. Now, the growth was driven by strong performance across all major sectors and close cooperation between the government, civil service and private sector and community. Fadillah reaffirmed the Madani government's commitment to delivering quality services for the well-being of all Malaysians. Now, a quick look at the financial markets. The ringgit rose against the US dollar on the first trading day of 2026, supported by expectations of possible Federal Reserve rate cuts and a weaker greenback. At 8 a.m. on Friday, the ringgit strengthened to around 4.05 against the US dollar, compared with Wednesday's close of about $4.06. IPPFA economist Muhammad Sedek Jantan said the ringgit's strength mirrored regional currencies, boosted by Asia's improving macro outlook, including China's PMI hitting a 6-month high. Now, the local note also gained against most ASEAN peers, though it was mixed versus major global currencies like the pound and also the euro. While markets rise, government aid is boosting grassroots activity. For many rural communities, government aid can feel distant, but the one-off 100 ringgit Sumbangan Asas Ramah subsidy is showing real impact on the ground. Checks by Bernama at Felda Sahabat in Tunku, somewhere in Lahadatu, found higher sales at small neighborhood shops. One grocery owner said his monthly transactions have jumped from around 100 to nearly 1,000 as residents use the aid to buy daily essentials, keeping money circulating within the local economy. Moving on, Menteri Besar Dato' On Hafiz Ghazi announced that Johor recorded its highest ever revenue collection of 2.67 billion in 2025. He said the funds will be reinvested in development projects, public facilities and welfare initiatives, adding that the state's growth reflects the support of the region. Tunku Mahkota Ismail, state officials, agencies and the people of Johor. Dato' On Hafiz expressed hope that the achievement will drive Johor toward greater prosperity and well-being, while noting that efforts to improve and equitably utilize revenue will continue. Now, still with Johor, a 900 million ringgit investment by Jiangsu Longda Super Alloy Company Limited through its Malaysian subsidiaries Singda Super Alloy is set to create over 200 high-skilled jobs in engineering and advanced technology in Johor. Johor Menteri Besar Dato' On Hafiz Ghazi said the Shanghai-based firm plays a key role in the global aerospace, energy and heavy engineering supply chain. The project includes collaboration with University Technology Malaysia, offering training and at least 50 graduate positions with exposure in Malaysia and China. Dato' On Hafiz said the initiative aims to develop Johorians as key contributors in future industries and advance the state's Johor Maju 2030 aspirations. Meanwhile, the Negeri Sembilan Festival 2025, or NS Fest, concluded successfully with 1.5 million visitors and 7.95 million ringgit in sales over its 12-day run at Dataran Nilai. Menteri Besar Dato' Sri Aminuddin Harun said the festival exceeded its 1.4 million visitor target, proving the state's capability to host large-scale events that highlight the unique cultural, economic and social identity of its people. The event also highlighted the agricultural sector, celebrating farmers, livestock breeders and fishermen as vital contributors to the state's food supply and economy. Now, in Perak, the state government ended 2025 with a revenue surplus of 85 million ringgit, reflecting a stable and resilient economic recovery. Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Sarani Muhammad attributed the success to prudent financial management, political stability and high-impact projects including the automotive Tech Valley, the Perak Halal Industrial Park and the Korean Integrated Green Industrial Park. Meanwhile, Sarani called on the people of Perak to fully leverage the Visit Malaysia 2026 campaign to strengthen the state's tourism sector further. Kelantan, or the state of Kelantan, aims to attract 12 million domestic and international tourists this year. State Tourism, Culture, Arts and Heritage Committee Chairman Kamaruddin Muhammad Noor described the target as realistic, citing last year's visitor count of approximately 11 million. Out of that, almost 90% were apparently domestic tourists. Now, the state plans 52 programs, improved access at key points including Kota Baru, Gua Musang and Pasir Putih, and initiatives to boost its international profile. He also announced the launch of a new boat service to the Perhentian Islands from Tok Bali, set to begin in March 2026. Malaysia has entered the fourth phase of its e-invoicing rollout to strengthen tax administration and ease compliance for SMEs. From January 1, 2026, businesses with transactions over 10,000 ringgit and key sectors like automotive, aviation, gold and construction must issue individual e-invoices. Firms with annual revenue below 1 million ringgit are exempt. Experts say the phased approach allows SMEs to focus on growth and strategy, while e-invoicing and self-assessment for stamp duty are expected to boost tax collections in 2026. We'll be back in a moment with more of this week's top stories from across the nation and also the globe with regards to business. This is The Nation on Bernama TV. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Singapore Prime Minister in his New Year message said Singapore posted stronger than expected economic growth of 4.8% in 2025, and this is despite global headwinds. The growth was driven by AI-related demand for semiconductors and electronics, keeping unemployment and inflation low while raising real incomes. Wong cautioned that sustaining this pace will be challenging and urged Singapore to rethink, reset and refresh its economic strategies amid potential inflationary pressures and growth obstacles. Japan's government has approved a record $785 billion budget for the year starting April 2026 as Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi looks to boost spending while keeping a close eye on rising debt. The budget totals 122.3 trillion yen, up from last year's 115.2 trillion yen, and includes a record defense allocation of more than 9 trillion yen. With a weak yen and a higher government bond yield or higher government bond yields, the government says it will limit new borrowing to reassure investors and avoid reckless spending. Still with Japan, rising food costs are hitting everyday households. A simple breakfast staple, Japanese-style egg rice, is becoming harder to afford as rice and egg prices hit record highs. Food costs are climbing more broadly, driven by higher inputs, labor expenses, and a weaker yen. With thousands of products set to rise in price next year, many households are already switching to cheaper alternatives. Moving on, China's agriculture sector continues to show strong momentum. China purchased 415 million tons of grain in 2025, marking the third consecutive year above the 400 million ton level. Officials say over 90% of purchases were market-driven, supported by improved financing and storage capacity. Around 22.5 million tons of wheat and rice were bought under the minimum purchase price scheme to stabilize markets. Still with China, around 200 Taiwanese business leaders have met in Beijing to talk about trade and investment with mainland China. Many of them said they are still optimistic about doing business in China and want closer economic cooperation across the Taiwan Strait. China's Taiwan Affairs Chief Song Tao told the group that Beijing's plan to continue offering policies and incentives to support Taiwanese companies operating on the mainland. Now, the business leaders also said economic stability matters more than political tension, stressing that trade, supply chains and cooperation should come first in cross-strait relations over the coming years. Meanwhile, in Europe, a major monetary shift took place as Bulgaria adopted the euro on Thursday, becoming the 21st country to join the currency bloc amid public concerns over possible price increases. The move comes 2 years after Croatia's entry and will raise the number of Europeans using the euro to over 350 million. New Bulgarian euro coins will feature national symbols including St. Ivan of Rila and St. Pacius. The transition includes public holidays for technical adjustments. Regular business operations in 2026 will resume on the 5th of January. Now, in the Middle East, Iran is facing intensifying pressure at home and abroad. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian says the country is in a full-scale war with its enemies as it battles an economic crisis and mounting protests. He warned that Iran's adversaries are using economic pressures to weaken the nation. His remarks came 2 days after U.S. President Donald Trump signaled possible renewed military action if Iran moves to rebuild its nuclear program. Tehran has also replaced its central bank governor after the rial hit a record low, sparking nationwide unrest. And before I head out to another break, major UAE stock indexes fell after rising tensions with Saudi Arabia over Yemen. Riyadh called its national security a red line and demanded the UAE forces leave Yemen within 24 hours following a Saudi-led coalition airstrike on the southern port of Mukalla, targeting a foreign military support for UAE-backed southern separatists. The warning is Riyadh's strongest stance against Abu Dhabi yet. Now, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are both major players in the OPEC oil exporters group. They say that any disagreements between the two could hamper consensus on oil output decisions. Now, I'm off to another break. We'll be back shortly with more updates right here on The Nation. We'll bring you more business updates from Malaysia and also from around the world. Stay with us. Welcome back. Denmark's National Postal Service, PostNord, has ended traditional letter delivery as of December 31st, marking the close of 401 years of postal operations. Now, the move comes after letter volumes in Denmark fell by more than 90% since the year 2000, while demand for parcel delivery continued to grow. PostNord said most communication now arrives electronically. Now, to mark the change, the company released a campaign film featuring actress Ellen Hillingso reading the final letter to the public. Let's take a look at that advertisement.
Kære Danmark, så er det her. Vores sidste brev. Bare rolig, det er ikke en regning. Og selvom det kan føles som en afslutning, er det heller ikke et farvelbrev. Det er et nyt kapitel. Gennem tiden har vi sendt breve med oplevelser, beskeder, håb, ønsker og kærlighed. Men sandheden er, at vi danskere ikke sender breve, som vi plejede. Det betyder ikke, at vi er blevet mindre omsorgsfulde eller kærlige over for hinanden. Vi viser det bare på nye måder. Forandring er ikke altid lige let. Især ikke efter 400 år. Men vi ved, at det er en forudsætning for at skabe fornyelse og glæde. Så lad os byde forandringen velkommen. Der er en stor chance for, at den giver os netop det, vi søger. Bare i ny indpakning.
That was Denmark's last letter. When did you write your last letter? Well, continuing on with updates that we have with regards to business stories from around the world and also right here in Malaysia. Let's go to Colombia now. Colombians are voicing skepticism after President Gustavo Petro announced a sharp increase in the country's minimum wage. While the government says the move aims to reduce the inequality, many fear higher wages will quickly be offset by rising prices. Economists have also warned the decision could fuel inflation and strain public finances, raising questions about its longer-term impact on everyday life. Now in Bolivia, police fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse miners protesting outside Murillo Square in La Paz, escalating tensions during a demonstration. The miners opposed Supreme Decree 5503, which rolled back long-standing fuel subsidies, doubling gasoline prices and tripling diesel costs. Now, protesters say the move threatens their livelihoods and will raise food and transport costs for the poor. President Rodrigo Paz Pereira has defended the decree as necessary to ease fiscal pressure amid an economic slowdown. Syria started exchanging old banknotes for new ones on the 1st of January as part of a plan to replace Assad-era currency and stabilize the economy. Central Bank Governor Abdelkader Husreir said the swap will run for 90 days as the new government moves to rebuild state institutions after years of war and sanctions. Officials say the reform aims to restore confidence in the Syrian pound, though some bankers warn the change could fuel inflation if not carefully managed. Now, for Syrians, this is about trust in money again. Removing zeros is meant to simply simplify prices and signal a fresh economic start. But the real test will be whether daily costs actually ease. We take a look at what's happening in Korea, South Korea to be exacting. Exports reached an all-time high of $709.7 billion last year, surpassing the landmark 700 billion mark for the first time. According to the data compiled by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Resources, annual exports rose 3.8% from a year earlier, with semiconductor exports posting a record high of $173.4 billion on the back of the growth of AI. December exports jumped 13.4% year-on-year, marking the 11th consecutive month of growth. Now, in global finances, the UN General Assembly adopted the 2026 program budget on Tuesday, totaling $3.45 billion, reflecting Secretary General Antonio Guterres' 15% cut in financial resources and a nearly 19% reduction in staff. The fifth committee responsible for budget matters approved the plan, with France urging all member states to pay contributions on time and the US calling for bold reform proposals in 2027 and 2028. Now, the budget will abolish 2,900 posts or jobs amid ongoing concerns over arrears, which total $1.586 billion as of December 1st, 2025. On travel and tourism, Turkey has granted visa-free travel to Chinese citizens holding ordinary passports for tourism and transit effective January 2nd. Under the new regulations signed by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Chinese travellers will be exempt from visa requirements for stays of up to 90 days within any 180-day period, aiming to boost trade and tourism between the two nations. According to Turkey's official data, the number of Chinese visitors to the country rose 65.1% year-on-year in 2024, reaching approximately 410,000, supported by increased flight connectivity and growing interest in Turkey's cultural heritage. And before we end, silver surged past $80 an ounce for the first time on Monday, propelled by strong industrial and investment demand, persistent supply shortfalls, its recent designation as a U.S. critical mineral, and a wave of momentum-driven buying. Prices were down 4.2% by 0830 GMT, retreating from a record peak of $83.62 earlier in the session as investors booked profits while easing geopolitical tensions curbed safe haven demand. Spot silver has climbed more than 160% year-on-year, significantly outpacing gain of more than 70%. Well, that's all the time we have for now. For the latest, visit BRNAMA.com's business desk for the nation's best business updates minus the fluff. I'm GERARD. This has been The Nation on BRNAMA TV. Thanks for watching. Stay with us right here on BRNAMA TV for more updates. Bye-bye.
Majlis Peluncuran Projek Inovasi Pencahayaan ke arah kelestarian bandar. I Light You, infrastruktur lampu, inovasi teknologi ekomampan ke arah urbanisasi. Acara perarakan I Light You dirasmikan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, Perdana Menteri, 3 Januari 2026, Pavilion, Kuala Lumpur.
Digital penuh dengan kandungan ganas, eksploitasi kanak-kanak dan buli cyber berleluasa di luar kawalan. Akta Keselamatan dalam Talian 2025 atau AMSA dikuatkuasa untuk melindungi rakyat. pengguna boleh bertindak atas kandungan yang berisiko. Setiap laporan yang dibuat, platform digital wajib bertindak pantas terhadap penyalahgunaan digital. Dengan ONSA, internet kini lebih selamat untuk kanak-kanak dan keluarga kita.
Dari dasar kerajaan, cabaran industri hingga peluang untuk rakyat.
Perbincangan bersama pakar, analisis terkini dan penyelesaian untuk masa depan.
Semuanya hanya di Ruang Bicara Aspirasi Ekonomi.
Setiap Jumaat, 9 malam.